Assalamu alaikum and good morning, all my dear students. I hope you are doing good. Today we are going to discuss the histology lecture and we are going to discuss the topic about connective tissue. Connective tissue is also known as a supporting tissue, and connective tissue, as the name indicates, it is going to connect. It is going to act as a glue, as a jigsaw puzzle connecting the different pieces. So connective tissue is going to support and physically connect other tissues and cells together in an organ as well. Connective tissue is a group of cells in a tissue-specific extracellular matrix. So this matrix is going to provide a support and physical connection between other cells and tissues in an organ. So let us take up this. First of all, you must all know what is the definition of a tissue. You have been doing it from grade 5, I guess. Tissue is a group of cells specialized to perform a specific function. This is a general definition of a tissue. So what are the basic tissues of the body? Can you recall the basic tissues of the body? I can give you a hint. There are four basic tissues of the body. So the basic tissues present in the body includes the epithelial tissue, the connective tissue, muscular tissue, and the nervous tissue. Apart from these four tissues, now the histologists also include blood as a fifth basic tissue of the body. But the most of the books include four basic tissues, and they are the epithelial tissue consisting of epithelial cells, the connective tissue, which we are going to take up today, muscular tissue, and the nervous tissue. So now we are going to discuss the composition of connective tissue, the general structure, the components that compose the connective tissue. So in comparison to the other basic tissues of the body that were epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue, which consist mainly of cells. Here in connective tissue, the major constituent of connective tissue is the extracellular matrix. Extracellular matrices consist of different combination of fibers, which are going to include the collagen fibers, elastic fibers, reticular fibers, and ground substance. Ground substance is going to include the GAGs, and we are going to discuss other glycoproteins, which are going to make up the ground substance. So connective tissue broadly consists of cells and the extracellular matrix. Cells are going to include a number of cells in it, and apart from the cells, it is also comprising of extracellular matrix. And under the head of extracellular matrix, you have two things: fibers, which include collagen fibers, elastic fibers, and reticular fibers, and ground substance, which includes macromolecule, GAGs, and glycoproteins. You can imagine this as a trifle, the Swedish you make. First of all, you layer up a layer of cakes below, then you pour in the custard, and in the custard you put in different fruits and jellies. So just imagine that. Bring that fruit trifle in your mind. The base of cake, or the or you can say biscuit, is the is your fibers. The sponge is your fibers, reticular fibers, elastic fibers, and collagen fibers. Then you pour in the custard, the liquid material. That is basically the ground substance. The substance that is going to hold in the fibers, the base, as well as the different jellies, fruits you are going to add in. So the cake were the fibers, the custard is your ground substance, and the fruits, cherries, nuts, and jellies you are going to add in it are the cells. So this is the imaginary connective tissue composition we have done. I hope you remember this. So here you can see a journal schematic diagram of connective tissue. The pink background is the ground substance, and these network is the fibers, which you can see collagen fibers and elastic fibers and reticular fibers. And then you have cells, different varieties of cells, which we are going to take up. Now, what are the functions of connective tissue? Connective tissue has got a lot of function. First of all, it is going to act as a binding material. It is going to help in binding the structures together. tissues to one another. An example of this connective tissue are the ligaments and the tendons. Then it is going to help in support and movement, locomotion. These are your bones. They are also connective tissue, bones and cartilage. Then protection of vital organs. This is going to have the bones which are going to protect the different vital organs. And then the cells of immune system is going to help in protecting the body against, defending the body against different pathogens. Then it is going to help as a structural framework, and then transportation of fluid, transporting fluid and dissolved materials, which is the blood, which is also a specialized connective tissue. Then you have storage of fats, which is the adipose tissue is going to store the fats. Insulating part is also being done by the fat tissue. Now we are going to study about the different cells present in the connective tissue. Broadly, the cells in the connective tissue are divided under two heads. The resident cells or the fixed cells, which are present in the connective tissue all the time. They are known as permanent or resident cells or fixed cells. And then you have another category known as migrant cells, temporary cells, or wandering cells, which are enter the connective tissue under certain stimuli or certain conditions. So now we are going to study these cells individually as well. First of all, the fixed cells or the permanent cells or the resident cells, which are permanently residing in the connective tissue. They include fibroblasts, macrophages, adipocytes, and mesenchymal stem cells. So these are permanently residing in the connective tissue. They are present all the times in the connective tissue. So the next variety is the migrant cells, temporary cells, or transient cells, wandering cells. These, as the name indicate, enter or migrate into the connective tissue from blood in response to a specific stimuli. They are not permanently or present or residing in the cells, but they enter the connective tissue under certain circumstances. And these include your plasma cells, lymphocyte, neutrophils, eosinophils, inflammatory cells, basophils, monocytes, and mast cells. Now we are going to discuss each cell individually. First of all, taking up the mesenchymal cells. Mesenchymal or stem cells, adult stem cells. Usually they cannot be easily identified in the connective tissue. They are derived from the embryonic mesenchymal tissue, and they retain the capacity and the capability to divide and give rise to fibroblast, another type of fixed cells, adipocytes throughout their life. So they have the ability to divide and differentiate into other cells, and some of them are present on the surface of capillaries. They become pericytes. They act as contractile cells. So embryonic mesenchymal tissue consists of a group of undifferentiated cells, generally elongated but with many shapes, having large eukaryotic nucleus and prominent nuclei, and they have the high ability to synthetic activity. They have the high levels of synthetic activity. These cells are called mesenchymal cells. Mesenchymal cells are surrounded by extracellular matrix that they produce, and that consists largely of simple ground substance rich in hyaluronic acid, but very little collagen. In this slide, you can see undifferentiated mesenchymal cell. It can divide and differentiate into other cells. It can divide and differentiate into osteoblast, osteocyte, and give rise to the bone. And it can differentiate into fibroblast, differentiate into adipocyte, chondroblast, give rise to cartilage. So this mesenchymal cell, undifferentiated mesenchymal cell, has the ability to divide and differentiate into other varieties of cells. Mostly it divides and differentiates into fibroblasts, adipocytes, and some of them along the capillaries give rise to pericytes. So now the other permanent cell, fibroblast. Fibroblasts are the most abundant or common cells in the connective tissue, and they are derived from the undifferentiated mesenchymal cells. They are divided into two categories, fibroblast and fibrocytes. Fibroblast, the histologist reserved the term fibroblast to denote an active cell, and fibrocyte to a quiescent cell, non-active cell. The active fibroblasts have abundant and irregularly branched cytoplasm. The nucleus is large, euchromatic, ovoid, and they have a prominent nucleoli. So the fibroblasts are the more active cells. They can divide, differentiate, and they have the so they have more activity, so they are going to have more rough endoplasmic reticulum, more Golgi apparatus, prominent nucleoli. And in comparison to it, the quiescent fibrocyte, they have few processes. They are spindle shaped, they have less rough endoplasmic reticulum, less Golgi apparatus, they have a heterochromatic nuclei, so they cannot divide that much. This table is showing you the differences between fibroblast and fibrocyte. The active one are called fibroblast and the quiescent one are called fibrocytes. Fibroblasts are large, they have large cytoplasmic and numerous cytoplasmic extension. They have a large ovoid euchromatic nucleus. They are basophilic, more basophilia because they are rich in endoplasmic reticulum. They have more Golgi apparatus. In comparison to fibroblasts, the fibrocytes are small, spindle shaped. They have few processes. They are small, heterochromatic nucleus. They have less prominent nucleoli, less rough endoplasmic reticulum. Golgi apparatus is less developed, so they are going to be acidophilic. These differences are very important and they come in your exams again and again. The differences between a fibroblast and a fibrocyte. These are the diagrams showing fibroblast and fibrocyte. In the fibroblast, you can see numerous cytoplasmic processes. There is abundant endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi, mitochondria, euchromatic nucleus, whereas in fibrocyte, few processes, spindle-like, and they have few rough endoplasmic reticulum, few Golgi. So this is fibrocytes are quiescent ones. They are non-active. So what are the functions of fibroblast? Fibroblasts are going to synthesize and secrete collagen, which is the abundant protein in the body. They are also going to secrete elastin protein as well, and they are also going to form the ground substance, the GAGs and the proteoglycan glycoproteins that comprise the ground substance. Fibroblasts have the capacity to regenerate. They have the regenerated capacity of connective tissue, and some of them are also known as myofibroblast. Myofibroblasts are the cells, the fibroblast involved in wound healing. They have well-developed contractile functions. They can contract. Myo means muscular. So they have myoproteins in them. They have the actin proteins, just the proteins that are found in the muscles. These fibroblasts have actin proteins in them and they can contract. Whenever you get some injury, these myofibroblast, they have the ability to contract the wound, to seal the scar tissue, and they help in the contraction of the wound. These cells have most morphological characteristic of fibroblast, but also have increased amount of actin myofilaments in them and myosin in them, and they behave like smooth muscle. Their activity is important in the phase of tissue repair, which is known as wound contraction. So you can get a question that what are myofibroblasts? They are the specialized fibroblasts that have actin and myosin filaments in them, and they behave as smooth muscle. They help in the repair, contraction of the wound, and they help in the contraction of scar tissue, and they help in the healing process of tissue repair called wound contraction. Fibroblasts are targets for many families of protein called growth factor that influence cell growth and differentiation. In adults, connective tissue fibroblasts rarely undergo division. Whenever they are stimulated by the locally released growth factor, they undergo mitotic activity, and they help in the tissue to repair the damaged organ. So the next permanent cell are the adipocyte. Adipocyte, the name is from a Latin word adipus, which means fat, and Greek word kytos, which means cell. They are the fat cells found in the connective tissue of many organs. They are large, and they are large, polygonal in shape. There are two varieties of adipocyte, brown adipocytes and white adipocyte. White adipocytes are unilocular. Uni means one. They have one large globule of fat in them. While multilocular fat adipocytes are brown fat cells, and they have multi globules of fat in them. The unilocular ones give signet ring appearance, just like a ring, and in which there is a large The cell is filled up with large globule of fat. Cytoplasm is pushed to periphery, and there is the cell, the nucleus of the cell is also pushed to the periphery. So they store lipids and neutral fats, and they are a source of insulation, adipocyte, and they help to release and produce heat as well. They also serve as cushioning effect in the body. Macrophages and mononuclear phagocytic system. Macrophages are also called histiocytes. Macrophages are derived from the bone marrow precursor cells that divide, producing monocytes that circulate in the blood. These cells cross the epithelial walls of the venules to penetrate the connective tissue, where they differentiate further and mature and acquire morphological features of phagocytic cells. Therefore, monocytes and macrophages are the cells of the same lineage, and they are the same cells at different stages of maturation. Macrophages are important in the early stage of repair after tissue damage, and under the conditions of inflammation, these cells accumulate in the connective tissue by local proliferation. So monocytes are the ones that are present in the circulation in the blood, and when they enter the connective tissue, they are called macrophages, and they are the cells of your immune system. They help in they have the well-developed phagocytic ability, and they are specialized in turnover of protein fibers and removal of dead cells and debris from the tissues. The monocyte have a indented nucleus, kidney-shaped nucleus, light chromatin, granules in the cytoplasm, and vacuoles in the cytoplasm. While the connective tissue macrophages, also known as histiocytes, they have large irregular cell outline, numerous pleated outline, which are going to indicate their engulfing power. They have a large nucleus, multiple cytoplasmic vacuoles and inclusions. A typical macrophage is about 10 to 30 micron in diameter. They have eccentrically located oval kidney-shaped nucleus, and macrophages in the connective tissue of most organs are referred by pathologists as histiocytes. So the macrophages are about 10 to 30 micron in diameter. They have oval kidney-shaped nucleus. They have irregular surface with pleats and indicating protrusions and indentation, which indicate and are a hallmark for active pinocytosis and phagocytic activity. They increase in size, increase of endoplasmic reticulum during their phagocytic activity, and they have well-developed Golgi apparatus. The macrophage-like cells have been given different names in different organs of the body. For example, they are known as Kupffer cells in the liver, microglial cells in the central nervous system, Langerhans cells in the skin, and osteoclasts in the bone tissue. However, all these these are derived from monocytes. All are long-living cells and may survive for months in the tissue. In addition to debris removal, these cells are highly important for uptake, processing, and presentation of antigen for lymphocytic activity, which are a part of your immune system. The transformation from monocyte to macrophages in the connective tissue involves increase in size, increase in the protein synthesis, and increase in the number of Golgi complex and lysosomes. So these macrophages, when they are present in the liver, they are known as Kupffer cells. When they are present in the central nervous system, they are known as microglia. In the skin, they are known as Langerhans cells, and in the bone, they are known as osteoclast. They are going to engulf in the pathogenic material from these cells, and they also act as antigen presenting cells. They are part of your immune defense system, and they help in the removal of cell debris and neoplastic cells, bacteria, and other invaders. And they also are a part of antigen presenting cell system of your immune system. When the macrophages are stimulated adequately, they can become epithelioid cells or multinucleated giant cell. They act as defense element and participate in antigen presenting cell systems. And other antigen presenting cells of the body include fibroblast, endothelial cells, astrocytes, thyroid epithelial cells. They are a part of your cell mediated immunity. They exhibit lysosomal activity, remove cell debris, and they also help in secretion of some factors as well. So this table shows the cell types and their location. The monocytes are present in the blood and they are the precursors for the macrophages. Macrophages are present in the connective tissue and they have different functions. They are part of your defense system. They secrete some factors, chemotactic factors, and they also are a part of your antigen presenting system as well. Kupffer cells are the macrophages that are present in the liver. Microglia are the macrophages present in the central nervous system. Langerhans cells are the macrophages of the skin. Dendritic cells are antigen presenting cells in the lymphocyte. Osteoclasts are the macrophages present in the bone, and multinuclear giant cells are the macrophages that are present in the connective tissue, and they are formed by fusion of many hundreds of different macrophages together. Now coming on to mast cells. Mast cells means well fed. They are about 20 to 30 micron in diameter. They have small central spherical nucleus. The cytoplasm is filled with basophilic secretory granules about 0.3 to 2 microns. And the nucleus is centrally situated, that is often obscured by the secretory granules. These granules are electron dense, heterogeneous, ranging from 0.3 to 2 microns. Because of their high content of acid radical in their sulfated gags, the mast cell granules display metachromasia. So what is metachromasia? Metachromasia is the characteristical change in the color of staining by certain dyes, and this is a feature of mast cell. They can change their stainings, and they change their color of some basic dyes. For example, toluidine blue. It can change its color from blue to purple or red. The granules are poorly preserved by common fixatives, so the mast cells are frequently difficult to identify. But the feature of metachromasia, it belongs to the mast cells. They change the color of the dyes from blue to purple to red, and this is because of the polyanions present in them, high acidic content of the sulfated gags in them. There are two varieties of mast cells based on their locations. First of all, they are located in the blood vessels, small blood vessels in the skin and the mesenteries. These are known as perivascular mast cells. And those mast cells which line the digestive and respiratory tracts, they are known as mucosal mast cells. These varieties of mast cells play a role as sentinels detecting invasions by microorganisms. They are part of the immune system as well. Mast cell function in the localized release of many bioactive substances with roles in local inflammatory response, innate immunity, and tissue repair. A partial list of important molecules released from these cells include heparin, that is an anticoagulant, histamine, that promotes vascular permeability and smooth muscle contraction, that is released during allergic reaction. It is going to release eosinophilic and neutrophilic chemotactic factors, cytokines, phospholipid precursors, leukotrienes, and play a role in inflammatory response as well. Release of certain chemical mediators stored in the mast cells promote allergic reaction known as immediate hypersensitivity reaction. Because they occur, this hypersensitivity allergic reaction occurs within few minutes after appearance of the antigen. That is the antigen in an individual that is previously sensitized to the same antigen. There are many examples of immediate hypersensitivity reaction. For example, anaphylactic shock. The first exposure of antigen or allergen, for example, bee venom, results in production of IgE immunoglobulin by the plasma cell. IgE immunoglobulin then binds to the surface of the mast cells, and on the second exposure of the antigen, when the patient is secondly exposed, on the second occasion of exposure to that specific antigen, the antigen results in binding to the IgE present on the mast cells. This event, the binding of the antigen to the IgE present on the mast cell, triggers the release of mast cell granules. And this helps in the release of histamine, leukotrienes, heparin, and chemokines. The degranulation of mast cells also occur as a result of action of complement molecules that participate in the immunological reactions. Mast cell secretion is triggered by re-exposure to certain antigen or allergen. Molecules of IgE antibody produced in the initial response to an allergen such as pollen or bee venom are bound to the cell surface receptors for IgE, of which 300,000 are present per mass cells. When a second exposure to allergen occurs, IgE molecule binds this antigen and few IgE receptors very rapidly become cross-linked. This activation activates adenyl cyclase, leading to phosphorylation of certain proteins, entry of calcium ions, and rapid exocytosis of some granules. In addition, phospholipases act on specific membrane phospholipids, leading to production and release of leukotrienes. The components released from granules as well as the leukotrienes are immediately active in local microenvironment and promote a variety of local reactions that together normally comprise part of inflammatory process called immediate hypersensitivity reaction. ECFA is eosinophil chemotactic factor of anaphylaxis. It is also released. Plasma cells are B lymphocyte-derived antibody-producing cells. These are large ovoid cells with basophilic cytoplasm. Why basophilic? Because they are rich in rough endoplasmic reticulum. Any cells that is going to be more active, have more rough endoplasmic reticulum, is going to be more basophilic, more purple in color. Next to the nucleus, the Golgi apparatus and centrioles occupy a region that may appear pale in the routine histological preparation. The nucleus of plasma cell is generally spherical but eccentrically placed. Many of these nuclei contain compact peripheral region of heterochromatin alternating with lighter regions of euchromatin, a configuration that gives the nucleus of plasma cell a clock face appearance, just like a dial of a clock. And this is the clock face appearance is commonly used term for the nucleus of plasma cell. It is going to come in your MCQs as well. Metachromasia was a feature of mast cell. Clock face nucleus or your cartwheel nucleus is a feature of plasma cell. Cartwheel or clock face. There are at least a few plasma cells in most connective tissue. Their average lifespan is about 10 to 20 days. As they are derived from B cells, they are responsible for synthesis of immunoglobulin antibody production. Each antibody is specific for the one antigen that stimulated the clone of B cell and reacts only with that antigen or molecule. The result of antigen-antibody reaction are variable, but usually neutralize the harmful effects caused by that antigen. Antigen, that is toxin, has the capacity to do harm. When it binds to a specific antibody, it loses its capacity. Bound antigen-antibody complexes are quickly removed by the tissue by the process of phagocytosis. Leukocyte. Beside macrophages and plasma cell, connective tissue normally contains other leukocyte derived from cells circulating in the blood. Leukocyte or white blood cells make up the population of wandering cells in the connective tissue. They leave the blood by migrating between the endothelial cell lining venules to enter the connective tissue by a process called diapedesis. They cross the venules and enter the connective tissue. This process increases greatly during inflammation, which is a vascular and cellular defensive response to injury and foreign substances. Most leukocytes function for a few hours or days in the connective tissue and then die. These include neutrophils, eosinophil, basophil, small lymphocyte, and monocytes. This chart shows a summary of all the cells present in the connective tissue, their location and their functions. So you can go through this. This is a revision of all the cells which we have studied. Fibroblast, they produce different fibers and ground substance. Plasma cell produce antibodies, immunological response. Lymphocytes, production of immunocompetent cells. Eosinophil leukocytes, they produce cytokines, vasoactive reaction modulators, and they are part of the immunological system. Neutrophilic leukocyte, they phagocytose foreign substances. Macrophages are part of your phagocytic defense system. Mast cells play a role in allergic defense system. They release histamine for allergic responses, and adipocyte, they store adipose tissue, and they are part of they store fat tissue. Now coming on to the classification of connective tissue. Connective tissue can be classified into connective tissue proper, adult connective tissue, and embryonic connective tissue. The embryonic connective tissue includes the mesenchymal and mucosal connective tissue, while the adult connective tissue can further be classified into different types. Adult connective tissue can be classified into connective tissue proper, fluid connective tissue, and supporting connective tissue. Connective tissue proper can further be divided into loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue. Examples of loose connective tissue include the areolar tissue, adipose tissue, and the reticular tissue. Dense connective tissue include dense regular connective tissue and dense irregular connective tissue and elastic tissue. Fluid connective tissue includes the fluid component of the body, the blood, and the lymph. Supporting connective tissue includes the specialized connective tissue. They include cartilage and bone. So in these pictures you can see dense regular connective tissue that includes the tendons and the ligaments. Then you have loose areolar tissue. Loose areolar tissue is found in the different packing systems. They form the packing of the tissue of the body. Loose areolar tissue can be found in the lamina propria beneath the epithelial lining of the digestive tract. Then you have adipose tissue, the fat tissue in the body. These are the example of the three types of dense connective tissue. Dense regular connective tissue found in the tendons. The fibers are arranged regularly. Dense irregular connective tissue in which you have irregular arrangement of fibers, that is seen in the dermis. Dense irregular connective tissue. Then elastic tissue. Here you have elastic fibers, and this can be seen in different elastic cartilages. So now can you identify these two histological slides? First one is, you see the fibers are arranged in a regular orientation. So these are dense regular connective tissue. In the second one, the fibers are not that much arranged regularly. These are dense irregular connective tissue. First is the example of first can be tendons, and the second one is dermis of skin, dense irregular connective tissue. Now please try to identify these two slides. In the first slide, you can see a loose arrangement, loose packing. This is the loose areolar tissue that can be seen in example of this is lamina propria beneath the epithelial linings, the submucosa. Then you have the second slide, you see empty looking cells, large cells. These are the adipose tissue consisting of adipocytes. Now under the embryonic connective tissue, you have mesenchymal tissue and mucoid connective tissue. Mesenchymal tissue consists of irregularly shaped cells in a semi-fluid ground substance with reticular fibers. These cells give rise to, they can differentiate and divide and give rise to other cells of the connective tissue, mesenchymal cells. Then the mucoid connective tissue, they have abundant ground substance. You can see more, they have mucus-like material ground substance that is rich in hyaluronic acid. Is jelly-like tissue, contains few fibers and more viscous ground substances. They contain cells known as fibroblast, and the mucoid connective tissue is commonly seen in umbilical cord where it is referred to as Wharton jelly. And this mucoid connective tissue can also be seen in the pulp of young teeth.